The workshop smelled of solder and synthetic lubricant, a combination Jackson had grown to love over his 15 years as a toy technician on Station Verdentes. His hands moved with practiced precision, reattaching the delicate wing servos of a mechanical butterfly, while the station hummed around him, with the sounds of 1,000 alien species going about their daily lives. "Mr. Jackson," a soft voice called from the doorway. He looked up to find Orla standing there, her iridescent scales catching the workshop's artificial light. She was young, barely a hatchling in dragon years, though she stood nearly as tall as Jackson himself. Her eyes, large and golden, held an expression of worry as she cradled something against her chest. "Come in, Orla," Jackson said with a warm smile, setting down his tools. "What brings you here today?" The young dragon stepped into the workshop, her tail curling nervously behind her. In her claws, she held a battered mechanical companion, a small robotic creature designed to look like an earth rabbit. Its ears drooped limply, and one eye flickered with dying light. "Whisper is broken again," Orla said, her voice trembling slightly. "I didn't mean to play so rough, but we were exploring the lower decks and he fell, and now he won't wake up properly." Jackson's heart softened. He'd met many aliens during his time on the station, but none quite like Orla. Despite belonging to a species renowned across the galaxy for their strength and fierce territorial nature, she possessed a gentleness that seemed almost impossible. Other dragon hatchlings trained for combat and dominance. Orla collected broken toys and befriended every creature she met. "Let's have a look," Jackson said, gesturing to his workbench. "Set Whisper down here." Orla carefully placed the mechanical rabbit on the bench, then settled onto her haunches to watch. Her wings, still small and not yet capable of flight, rustled with nervous energy. Jackson activated his diagnostic scanner, running it over the toy's internal systems. "Looks like the fall damaged his primary processing core. Nothing I can't fix, though. He'll be hopping around good as new by tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" Orla's face fell. "But he'll be scared being broken for so long." It was a childish concern, the kind that made Jackson remember why he'd left Earth's corporate sector to work on a frontier station. There was something pure about helping a child, any child, human or otherwise, feel safe and happy. "Tell you what," Jackson said, reaching for his advanced repair kit. "I'll work through the night. You can pick him up first thing in the morning. How does that sound?" Orla's eyes brightened, and she impulsively wrapped her forearms around Jackson in what he'd learned was a dragon hug. Her scales were warm, almost hot to the touch, and surprisingly smooth. "Thank you, Mr. Jackson. You're the kindest human in the whole galaxy." He chuckled, patting her shoulder gently. "I don't know about that, but I do know that Whisper is important to you, and that makes him important to me." After Orla left, Jackson set to work. The repair was more complex than he'd let on. The fall had caused cascade failures throughout the toy's systems. But he'd promised, and Jackson Reeves always kept his promises. As he worked, he thought about the young dragon. Her mother, Matriarch Solvane, was one of the station's most powerful figures, a dragon of ancient lineage who commanded respect from every species aboard Verdentes. Yet Solvane never seemed to understand her daughter's gentle nature. Jackson had overheard their arguments more than once when Orla brought toys for repair. "You must be strong," Solvane would hiss. "Dragons are not caretakers. We are rulers, warriors, keepers of cosmic order." But Orla would just hug her toys tighter and seek refuge in Jackson's workshop. The months turned into years, and Orla's visits became a regular fixture of Jackson's life. She brought him broken dolls, malfunctioning drones, damaged learning tablets, anything she found that needed fixing. And Jackson repaired them all, often adding little improvements. A music box that played lullabies, eyes that sparkled more brightly, wings that moved more gracefully. "Why do you spend so much time fixing toys for a dragon child?" his colleague Marcus asked one day. You could be making real money repairing ship systems or military tech." Jackson looked at the small army of restored toys lining his workshop shelves, waiting for Orla to redistribute them to children across the station. "Because she reminds me why I became an engineer in the first place," he said simply. "To make things work, to bring joy, to fix what's broken." What Jackson didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that each repaired toy carried a lesson. Every fixed mechanical companion taught Orla something about patience, care, and the value of preservation over destruction. Every conversation with Jackson showed her that strength could exist without domination, that power could be used to protect rather than conquer. The galaxy turned and Orla grew. Her wings became strong enough for flight. Her scales hardened into armor that could deflect plasma bolts. Her fire breath developed from small sparks into waves of controlled fusion, but she never stopped visiting Jackson's workshop. Then came the day when the Krathax Dominion arrived at Station Verdentes. The Krathax were a warrior species, brutal and efficient. They didn't negotiate, they conquered. Their fleet surrounded the station, demanding immediate surrender and tribute. The station's defenses were formidable, but everyone knew that a prolonged siege would end in tragedy. Matriarch Solving prepared for war, rallying the station's defenders. But it was Orla who stepped forward with a different plan. She flew out to meet the Krathax fleet alone, unarmed except for a small mechanical butterfly, one Jackson had repaired years ago, resting on her shoulder. Jackson watched from the observation deck, his heart in his throat, as Orla approached the massive dreadnought leading the Krathax fleet. What happened next became legend throughout the galaxy. Orla didn't attack. She didn't threaten. Instead, she spoke. She talked about the station as a living thing, a community of thousands of species, each one valuable and irreplaceable. She described the children who played in the gardens, the families who made homes in the habitation rings, the artisans and engineers and dreamers who built rather than destroyed. And when the Krathax admiral scoffed, calling her weak, Orla gently corrected him. She demonstrated her power, not through destruction, but through precision. She redirected an asteroid that had been drifting toward a Krathax colony ship, saving thousands of their warriors. She repaired a critical system failure on their flagship with a controlled burst of her fire breath, showing technical mastery that shouldn't have been possible. "Strength isn't proven through what you can destroy," Orla told the admiral, her voice broadcast across every ship in both fleets. "It's proven through what you can protect and preserve." The Krathax withdrew, not in defeat but in recognition of a power they'd never encountered before, the power of measured strength combined with compassion. Word spread. Other species took notice. Within a decade, Orla had mediated 17 conflicts, prevented 4 wars, and established a new paradigm for galactic politics. She didn't rule through fear or dominance like traditional dragons. She ruled through respect, earned by her ability to protect all species equally. When the Galactic Council was reformed, Orla was chosen as the first supreme arbiter, a position of authority that transcended individual governments and species. She was given power over peacekeeping, conflict resolution, and the protection of emerging civilizations. She ruled from Station Verdentes, which became the new capital of galactic cooperation. And on the day of her coronation, Orla did something unexpected. She flew not to the Grand Council chambers, but to a small workshop in the station's civilian quarter. Jackson looked up from his workbench, surprised to see the galaxy's most powerful leader standing in his doorway, her ceremonial robes shimmering with embedded technology. "Mr. Jackson," Orla said, and despite everything she'd become, her voice still held that same gentle tone from her childhood. "I brought you something." She set a mechanical rabbit on his workbench, Whisper, the first toy he'd ever repaired for her, now decades old and showing signs of wear. "I thought perhaps," Orla said, her golden eyes warm with affection, "you might fix him one more time, And maybe, if you're willing, you could teach others to do what you did for me." Jackson picked up the old toy, feeling the weight of decades in his hands. "What did I do exactly?" Orla smiled, showing rows of crystalline teeth that could cut through starship hulls. "You taught me that fixing broken things matters, that care and patience are strengths, that every individual, no matter how small, deserves attention and kindness." She gestured to the window, where the vast expanse of Station Verdenti spread out, now home to millions of beings from across the galaxy. "I rule not because I'm the strongest, though I am. I rule because you taught me that strength means nothing without compassion. Every toy you repaired was a lesson in leadership." Jackson felt tears prick his eyes. He'd been a simple toy technician, working in obscurity, never dreaming that his small acts of kindness would shape galactic history. "I'll fix Whisper," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "And yes, I'll teach others, though I have to say I just fixed toys for a kid who needed help I never imagined." "That's what made all the difference," Orla interrupted gently. "You never imagined ruling or controlling. You just imagined making things better, one small repair at a time." She leaned forward, touching her forehead to his, a dragon gesture of profound respect. "Thank you, Mr. Jackson, for everything." As Orla left to attend her coronation ceremony, Jackson turned back to his workbench. He picked up his tools and began repairing the mechanical rabbit, just as he had so many years ago. Outside, the galaxy celebrated its new ruler, the gentle dragon who would bring an age of unprecedented peace. But in a small workshop, a human engineer smiled, knowing that sometimes the most important work happened not in grand council chambers or on battlefields, but in quiet moments of care and kindness. He repaired toys for a gentle dragon hatchling, unaware she would one day rule them all. But perhaps in the end, it was those very repairs that made her worthy of ruling in the first place.